Well, g'day and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to give you my views on this Royal Enfield Himalayan after 18 months of ownership and 20,000 kilometers. I'll tell you what's great about this bike and what's not so great. Now, I'm going to skip all the technical details. These are available everywhere and have been continuously debated and talked about ever since this motorcycle was released. So I'm not going to cover all that old ground. What I'm going to tell you about is what it's like to live with this motorcycle on a day-to-day basis, what I've found to be this bike's strengths and weaknesses over 20,000 kilometers. Before I bought this bike, I booked a test ride on a Classic 500, an Interceptor and a Himalayan, and I chose the Himalayan out of those three just on the basis of it feeling the most comfortable. Having said that, a 5-minute spin around the block in unfamiliar city traffic is perhaps not the best way to make a decision about which bike to choose to spend your money on. I would definitely recommend spending an hour or more riding each bike to help get a proper feel for things. However, it was the nearest dealer to me. It's 3 hours away and I'm not the most confident city rider and was stressing about getting lost, getting run over, causing an accident, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't spend enough time on each bike to make a proper informed decision and selected the Himalayan as it seemed to be the most comfortable of the three at the time. Picked up the bike a week later and brought it home on the back of a trailer. That was in January 2021. As soon as the bike was off the trailer, however, I threw my leg over it and thought, this is the most uncomfortable motorcycle I've ever sat on. Seat, it felt like a medieval torture device. And as you sit in it instead of on it, there's nowhere to move to relieve the pressure at the sore parts. So you're stuck in the same position for the entire ride. Also, because of the material of the seat, my pants would ride over the side of it. That resulted in each trouser leg rolling up and slowly squeezing my gentleman's area until it went numb. Not a pleasant experience. Anyway, I managed to solve this by getting the touring seat, and which unfortunately feels exactly the same as a regular seat, and covering it with this mesh thing. But the two of them combined seem to work well. I don't get the pant roll up, and it certainly improved the riding experience. Other people I've spoken to haven't had this experience at all, so maybe it's a body shape thing. I also wonder why I didn't notice it on the test ride motorcycle, because I noticed it instantly on mine. Another thing I noticed straight away, as soon as I took my first ride, I thought, this gearbox is a bit clunky. It doesn't seem to want to change gears smoothly, and there are false neutrals everywhere. I assumed it was just bedding in, and that things would smooth out after the first oil change. Sadly, this turned out not to be the case, and this continues to drive me insane. I've come to terms with it. I call it my mystery gearbox. Sometimes a gear change can be as smooth as butter, and other times it takes 2 hard movements for the gear to be engaged properly, and you never know what's coming next. So no 2 gear changes are the same. If there's anyone out there who has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear about it, see if there's a fix for it. By now you're probably beginning to think that I don't like this bike, but you've been wrong. There's lots I love about it. But this bike will go just about anywhere, the only limit being the rider's ability. And I'm lucky enough to live in an area with lots of tracks, and as long as I don't push myself too hard, I can go anywhere I want. As far as the open road performance, 110 kilometers an hour is easy. If you want to go faster, there's a few modifications you can make, squeeze an extra couple of Ks out of it. I haven't gone down that route. To me it's a bit irrelevant. It's perfectly fine as it is. But there are options available. As far as durability goes, there's really nothing bad to report. Nothing's broken, nothing's really needed replaced apart from the tyres. I've went through a few of those. Chains and sprockets have achieved 20,000 kilometers without showing any sign of significant wear and tear. Same goes for the brake pads. Not experienced any leaks, had anything come loose. There's no rust anywhere. Paintwork is unblemished. All in all, it's exactly the same as it was when I bought it. Home maintenance is fairly easy. Only tricky part is the valve clearance check. but that's just because of the awkwardness of the position of everything. It's impossible to get the correct tool into the valves. I had to make my own tool with a decking screw and a piece of wood. It's a little bit annoying, but not impossible for any home tinkerer to do. Fuel consumption, being about 90 miles per gallon. I'm not sure what that is in metric. Fuel costs rising every day, cost to run less than most other bikes. This is my second Royal Enfield. The first was a classic 350. I put 30,000 kilometers on that before I traded it in for the Himalayan. I would say that this bike is a much higher standard than the older classics. Compared to the 350, engine smooth and creamy. Perhaps not to the standard of multi-cylindered bikes, but definitely for a single. The older Enfield would shake and rattle and bits would come loose and fall off. Hands would go numb if you had to ride for more than 5 minutes at anything over 70 kilometers an hour. A lot of loyal owners refer to that as character, but it does get a bit tedious. You can still feel vibrations in this bike, but it's not intrusive at all. Just lets you know that you're riding a bike. But yeah, you can feel it. And you won't lose your fillings afterwards either. Or have to backtrack to look for all the missing pieces of motorcycle. Like most Enfields, it's very customizable and a plethora of parts available to make this personal to you. Some of the parts can be of dubious quality and others are great. It's a bit of a hit and miss sort of thing. I've got a trip around Australia coming up next year, so I'm preparing for that. So I've got various bits and pieces on there. And I also commute to work most days without any issues.
So is this a good bike to spend your hard-earned money on? God, yeah. I mean, for what you pay, I think this was, I don't know what they are now, it was 7,500, maybe 8,500 by now. But for what you pay, you get a lot of bike for that money. And yes, there can be things that drive you insane, but isn't that the case with all bikes? All cars as well. I have a few cars that drive me insane too. So yeah, I think it's great value and well worth the money. The ownership, I mean, it's given me no trouble. So yeah, it is a lot more durable and a lot better than the old classic 350s. You don't have to pick up the bits after you. Maintenance is maintenance really. Either you can do it or you can't. And if you can't do it, I suppose it's no hardship. It's giving it to someone to do for you. So all in all, yeah, it's been a real positive experience for me, and I hope many owners out there have the same opinions. Yeah, it's been great. I give this a thumbs up. So if you've managed to get this far into the video, thanks for watching, and please subscribe and support the channel. And I'll have another review of a Meteor 350 coming up soon.